and welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Kmet, and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Jason. How's it going?
It's good. It's rushing in the door here to do the podcast. I was out at the Stampede grounds.
Yeah, how was it?
It's like Stampede. It's the same every year, different crazy food, but otherwise, kind of the same thing, which is good.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna make it out this year, but we went last year and it was a good time. But glad you were able to get home in time to record our episode this week.
If you are a new listener to our podcast, Scott, what's our the YYC Soccer Podcast all about?
So we talk about soccer in Calgary at the amateur, collegiate, and professional levels. We discuss the city's two professional teams, those being Cavalry FC and the Calgary Wild. We also talk about League One Alberta, focusing mostly on the Calgary-based teams in that league. And we talk about amateur and grassroots soccer initiatives as well.
In this episode, we're kind of doing a bit of a switch around from how we usually do things. Usually, we're doing our previews for matches on our Friday episode. But since there are no matches this weekend, our preview episode is at the beginning of the week. Kind of weird.
It did, and it felt weird. I didn't watch a single soccer game this weekend. There's still a lot of soccer happening if you think about the tournaments going on in the U.S., but I just kind of took a little bit of a break, I guess, and did some other stuff. But excited to kind of preview the soccer that's coming up quite quickly.
The Calgary Wild's returning to action after the international break. They're in Halifax. They're going to play Monday, like early, 3:30, I think, in the afternoon. And Cavalry has a Canadian Championship match against Vancouver FC on Tuesday. And there's the usual League One Alberta reviews from last week and previews for this week. And we have an interview this week, Scott. Who's our interview with?
Yeah, a few days ago, you and I interviewed Kaylee Hunter, the forward for AFC Toronto. While she's playing for Toronto at the moment, she is, of course, a born and raised Calgarian. And we've talked about her a lot on this podcast in the last couple of years, even though she's only 17, may have turned 18 recently, but despite her young age, she's making a lot of waves in the Northern Super League, and of course she's represented Canada at the U20 and I believe U17 levels as well. So really bright future, and it was great to ask her some questions.
Yeah, we'll get to that interview in a little bit. We're going to start though with a preview of the Calgary Wild match on Monday.
Hi, this is Carly Johnson, and this is the YYC Soccer Podcast.
So, Jason, the Wild will be taking on the Halifax Tides for the third time this season. This time, it's technically a bottom-of-the-table clash if you think about the fact that the Calgary Wild are in 5th place and Halifax are in 6th. So, kind of interesting backdrop for it, but the Wild have had some success against the Tides already this season, haven't they?
Yeah, the Wild have had some good success against the Tides, and it does feel weird to call it a bottom-of-the-table clash because it feels like there's been a bit of a gap between Halifax and all the other teams. But yeah, you're right. It is 5 against 6.
Yeah, and I think looking at how Halifax has done, they have had some of their best performances in recent weeks, but overall, I mean, they're definitely down there at the bottom with a bit of a gap between them and Calgary. Halifax have 1 win, 1 draw, and 6 losses so far. And I definitely think, even though they'll be at home, the Calgary Wild will be the favorites in this one. Last time they went to Halifax, they won 4-1. And when they played each other about a month ago at McMahon Stadium, they jumped out to that 3-0 lead in the first half. And then it looked like they were going to coast to a really one-sided win, but Halifax actually did really well to claw their way back into it. And it ended up being a 3-2 result for Calgary. But I did want to mention that Halifax have made some changes. They've brought in Stephen Hart as an interim head coach. And since his appointment, they've actually made 2 signings that both players they signed are very attack-minded. So I am curious to see if they can breathe some new life into Halifax's offense.
I hate these games, Scott. Anytime you play a team that's had a bad run of form, they fire the coach. Well, he technically wasn't fired, but he was kind of fired. And then bring in a new coach. The first match that the new coach takes the reins, I always feel like the players really get motivated for that. And it seems like that very often they'll put in a performance punching above their weight. So we could expect maybe a bit of trouble from the Tides. And like you said, a couple new players of note too, which I think both sound pretty promising.
I think they're both from Mississauga. One is Tiffany Cameron, who has represented Canada at the youth level, but she actually is playing her senior international football for Jamaica. And she's played in some pretty impressive leagues. She's played in Spain, Germany, the US, Sweden, Norway, Israel, Hungary. She's quite the globetrotter, but she's won titles in some of those places. She's scored lots of goals. She is a forward. Most recently, she was in Spain with Real Betis in Seville, and she was that team's top scorer. So, yeah, she has quite the pedigree and the proven track record in scoring goals. And then the other player they signed, another native of Mississauga, Amanda Allen, who has most recently been playing in the NWSL with the Orlando Pride. So she's coming over to Halifax on loan. But she is a winger, 2 new offensive-minded players, a new head coach. Like you mentioned, there's often a new manager bounce. You hear about that sometimes, or like a new coach bump. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Halifax does.
The Wild are looking to come back from a couple of losses before the international break, so they're going to be trying to do a bit of a reset, I think, and they're most likely going to be without Jacqueline Sawicki. She's been playing in the international break for the Philippines, and they've been playing in Cambodia. And their last match was just on Saturday morning, like our time. So to get all the way from Cambodia to Halifax, I don't know if they're going to even try and get her there or not, but chances are she's not going to be available for 90. I think that's safe to assume. So that'll be a bit of a gap for the Wild.
We talked about this last week when we did our mid-season report card, but the club confirmed it in a social media post less than a week ago that Sarah Griffith is no longer with the Calgary Wild. Her loan spell is over after her contract ended with Chicago. There's, I guess, a little bit of roster space, Jason, and I know you wrote a lengthy blog post on our Substack that I enjoyed reading this weekend.
There are now 3 open roster spots, right? So they have 22 players signed and the maximum is 25. There are 2 international roster spots available. So there is room to add. We don't really have any idea about how much space they have under the cap, but they do have the roster spots. So it wouldn't be surprising to see them bring in some new faces potentially.
Yeah, and we've talked about the need for more offensive firepower, considering the only forward who has really delivered for the Wild so far is Kaylee Johnson, who I'm expecting is back to full fitness and will be playing in this game. But I know you mentioned they also really, it would behoove them to reinforce the center back position a little bit and have another reliable center back who could play in the absence of Mika Rolfsema or Michaela Moore. And you brought up a local who we've had on the podcast and have, like Kaylee Johnson, talked about quite a lot as an example of who that player might be.
Yeah, I mentioned Mila Schneider from the University of Maine. When I look at the roster right now, if you're going to be playing with 2 center backs, you probably need to have 4 center backs on the roster. They've got Michaela Moore, Mika Rolfsema entrenched in the starting role, and they've had Talia White as the only other real natural center back. And she's played a bit here recently, but it seems like there's a question about, whether how much they really trust her. But I think in the end, they need the 2 starters. They need a 3rd experienced center back that they can trust, that they can put in there in situations, start if they need to. And then I think they need a 4th center back, and that 4th center back's probably more of a developing player, more of a Sarita Thurton type, or somebody who is younger, just came out of university, and they can be sort of nurtured along, and they can play if they need to, but kind of be like 4th in the pecking order. Either a Mila Schneider or a Mila Schneider type. I think that's what I wrote. Would be probably the kind of person I think would fit that role.
Yeah, 100% agree. And we don't know when or who the Wild will be signing, but Lydia Bedford has brought up that it's very much on the radar of the club to bring in some reinforcements this month. So hopefully we'll be hearing some names pretty soon.
The transfer window officially starts on July 20th.
Hi, my name is Jay Herdman, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, segueing now to talk about Cavalry FC. They're going to be playing Vancouver FC on Tuesday night at Spruce Meadows, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. This is the second leg of their quarterfinal matchup with Vancouver in the Canadian Championship. Feels like a long time ago that these two teams played in Vancouver to kick this series off.
Yeah, it does. It feels like it's been forever. So I think I can recall a two-legged series in the Canadian Championship that has had this long a gap. Although I don't know if I could, say that with certainty, but none that I can remember. So yeah, it's kind of weird that it's taken so long, but I guess we're going to finally find out what happens.
Yeah, this was I think they played in May. So that was, May 21st. So that was 6 weeks ago or thereabouts. Interesting game, that one. It was a 1-1 draw. So there is no away goals rule in effect for Tuesday's game. So that doesn't really matter that Cavalry managed to score that goal in Vancouver. But obviously they would have been very happy to not go into this 1-0 down. So interesting, considering that Cavalry, they're having a good season. They've turned around their slow start to the campaign, and they were recently 10 games unbeaten. That run just came to an end in their last match against Ottawa. But as we talked about at length last episode, that was more so due to how strong Ottawa were rather than Cavalry's own performance. So very different if you look at Vancouver FC at the moment. They've actually gone, and I counted this a couple of times to make sure, 10 games without a win. And they've only managed the one win so far in 2025. So they're having a really poor season, unfortunately. They still haven't been able to kind of compete with the rest of the CPL, it seems like, other than Valor, who they're down at the bottom of the table with. But it is interesting that Vancouver's 2 games against Cavalry so far this season have both been 1-1 draws. And arguably in both of them, Vancouver were the stronger team.
I thought in both those matches, Vancouver played decently, but clearly, when you look at the sample size of the season, they have not had a great year. So I don't know. I guess and there's always the magic of the cup, right? Where a team just somehow, despite their record in the regular season, can somehow perform in the cup. Which I'm not suggesting that that's a for sure thing here, but you just never know, right?
No, you never do. And
so we have to remember, the winner of this match is going to play the Vancouver Whitecaps in a two-legged series. So if you're Vancouver FC, that's a huge carrot. Could you imagine like the Whitecaps playing Vancouver FC in a two-legged series for the Canadian Championship? It would be the biggest thing that's probably ever happened to that club, I would think. So that's real motivation on their part, I would think.
I agree. However, isn't it like Vancouver still has to beat Valor to book their spot in the semifinal? And I know that's a very high.
Yeah, you're right. It's Valor, so I just kind of assumed it's a foregone conclusion. But yeah, no, it still has to happen. That's true. My apologies to Valor on that one. Before we move off of Cavalry, I noticed a couple things and I included them in the notes here. Scott, we've spent the last 2 years right near the end of the season counting U21 minutes to see if Cavalry can make it over the 2,000 minute threshold. We are not going to have to do that this year.
Thank God. Hey, that was getting really, I think that was becoming something that we felt we had to do, and we stuck with it. But yeah, Cavalry has already surpassed the 2,000 minute requirement, less than halfway into the season, which is great. It's a testament to the faith that the club has put in younger players this year. That's another thing we've talked about quite a lot, how many U20 and 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 20-year-olds that are on the club this season, and clearly like some of them have really accumulated a decent amount of minutes.
Yeah, in our episode a couple episodes ago when we had Tuofa Fakunle on, he mentioned about how the team was about to surpass the 2,000 minutes and how they really have the young players this year. And yeah, I guess it's a cycle and it's just the way it works out this year, and it's great. But it was always a topic that was kind of funny. I think even in 2023, when they were really, really cutting it close, we were always asking Tommy Wheeldon Jr. about it. And I think by the end of the year, he was tired of answering our questions and we were tired of asking them.
He kind of shrugged it off, and they've done well. He always mentions the same kind of story when he gets asked about the U20 minutes, and he brings up that they've been very selective with who they give a lot of minutes to. They don't just play players to get those minutes. They play the players when they feel that they are ready for it. And Calgary has a pretty good record of those U21 players that they do bring into the roster when they're ready, getting signed by bigger clubs and bigger leagues. And it's a little bit of a change this year because there's so many of those players, but it has been quite apparent how assured the performances of some of them have been, right? You think about Mikhail Gerasimenkov. I think Maël Henry is still in that category of being a young player and beginning of his career. Max Peepgrass has really stepped up and he looks quite assured out there in center midfield. So it is neat how Cavalry has become like Forge. I think Forge is another club that does really well at getting these players minutes when they're ready, ready to step up and have influential roles in their teams.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Hunter, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right. Well, I think now is a good time, Scott, to run our interview with Kaylee Hunter. We kind of already talked about it right in the very opening. But yeah, it was good to have her on. And it was, she's obviously a rising star in the Canadian soccer world. And it's good to get her perspective on a whole bunch of things.
Definitely really impressed by how confident she is in herself. She's gotten off to the races, right? 4 goals in the NSL already. Youngest player on AFC Toronto. So let's run that interview now and hear what she has to say about playing for AFC Toronto, as well as what it was like to return home to take on the Calgary Wild at McMahon a few weeks ago. I'd like to welcome Kaylee Hunter to the podcast. Kaylee is a forward for AFC Toronto, but she's originally from Calgary. Kaylee, thanks for coming on our podcast.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
As Jason actually mentioned before we hit the record button, we have been following your career for a couple of years now. But for any of our first time or new listeners, can you kind of outline your background, which clubs you played for in Calgary before you started your pro career with AFC Toronto?
I grew up in Northwest Calgary, and I started to play when I was about 3 years old, just with my community. But once I turned 7, I started to play competitively with Calgary West Soccer Club was my first club. I think it's now called Calgary West Football Club. But yeah, so I would have been 7 years old when I first started with them. And I played with them until I was 15 years old, until I moved to Blizzard for the inaugural League One season. And then from there, played half a season with them. And then I moved to Vancouver officially and played with the Whitecaps residency program in League One BC. And this January I moved here to Toronto, started my professional career here with AFC Toronto.
How did you end up joining AFC Toronto? Did you know other players, or what was your connection? And I'm guessing you probably had some options. Why did you choose to sign for AFC Toronto?
So it was about last summer when I started to get recognition from NSL clubs as the league was starting to build up and get started. So I would have been I think it started when I was in the CONCACAF Champions Cup with Whitecaps, is when clubs started to reach out. And obviously, I was trying to stay focused with what I was doing currently, but obviously, I kind of had in the back of my mind what I wanted to do, either pro or university. And for me, school has never really been one of my priorities. So I kind of knew from the get-go that I didn't think I would want to go to university. So then I realized that the NSL pathway is something I really wanted to do. And so once AFC reached out, they were really quick off the start. They wanted me for my qualities that I have, and they told me that straight from the get-go. So once I met the coaches and the players and I came here and actually got to see what Toronto was all about, something just clicked. And ever since I've been here, the team's been super welcoming. We've been successful on the pitch. So I'm just super happy with my decision. And I couldn't imagine me starting my career anywhere else but here.
And we, of course, watched you play at McMahon Stadium just a few weeks ago. You got to come back home, play in front of friends and family. What was that like, especially being on the visiting team, not being on the Calgary team, but playing in a stadium like McMahon?
For me, it was a dream come true. Obviously, it was a super big game because I was playing against my hometown. So obviously wanted to perform well and put on a good show for all my fans that were there, friends and family. But yeah, I mean, I've been dreaming about that since I was a kid, but then I'm doing it from like the opposite side. Obviously wanted to go in and win the game. Yeah, it was super cool and super happy I got to experience that. And now for next time we're there, hopefully I can keep on producing and hopefully score and get a big celebration from all my fans there.
Yeah, we know you got the goal right before you subbed off that was called back for offside. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an unlucky one, but next time.
So, talking about the NSL, like, what are your impressions of the league so far? And, like, I guess in general, what are your impressions of your first pro experience? Is it kind of what you expected, or you want to talk about that for a bit?
So obviously the NSL was created to build a pathway for the younger generations for little girls in Canada to look up to players because when I was younger, when I looked up and realized I wanted to play pro, there wasn't an opportunity to do that here in Canada. So I had to look abroad. And so obviously it's super amazing to have this league. I mean, we've been successful so far, so we just got to keep working at it. It's been amazing for me so far these first few months. It's the team, the coaches, everything has helped me, and then just the competition, getting to travel across Canada, play at different venues in front of different fans. It's been really, really cool, and I mean, getting to play in my hometown is awesome, but then also starting to build a legacy for myself here in Toronto. It's really cool, and yeah, I just hope as the year goes on and as the years go on that this league will just keep growing and inspiring new generations because ultimately that's what it was created to do.
Kaylee, I wanted to ask about integrating with your teammates, right? Like, I've been really impressed by AFC Toronto's forward lines in particular. You know, you're playing well. Esther Okoronkwo is really playing well. Nikayla Small had those 2 goals at Calgary. What do you think about the team, especially the forward core, has made it so strong in these first months of the season?
Me and my forwards, I mean, we just got really good chemistry. Off the field, we're all really, really good friends and we hang out all the time. So we kind of bring that same energy on the field. And, like we love the game. We love the game. We watch soccer all the time. So obviously bringing in different like qualities that we have and conjoining them together, it's obviously we've had success with it. So we just got to keep pushing and we all build and work off of each other. And I mean, it's been working so far. So hopefully we can keep on doing that and scoring goals, assisting, and celebrating.
What's it like being the youngest player on the team? Because well, I haven't actually checked every player, but I'm pretty sure you're the youngest player, and by a few years. What's that like?
For me, honestly, when I'm with the team, I don't really like feel like I'm the youngest. They all treat me as an equal with respect. And obviously, every now and then there's going to be a joke that Kaylee, you're in the middle for rondos, you're the youngest, or Kaylee, you got to clean up because you're the youngest. But I don't let that affect me too much. For me, the way I look at it, I don't just because I'm the youngest doesn't mean I can't be a leader and I can't be pushing the standards of the team. So that's what I try to do every training, every game, just put on my best performance and yeah, just try to help the team out as best I can, and just because I'm younger doesn't mean I can't do things like that.
And I know you've already touched on this, but speaking of your own performances, I think you've gotten 3 goals so far, maybe
4, I believe.
4. Sorry, you've gotten 4 goals so far. You've made the team of the week multiple times. How would you rate your own performances? Were you surprised by how much you've been able to produce?
Coming into this season, obviously, I just wanted to start off strong and get into the starting lineup, and then from there, just getting minutes and then helping my team score goals, get assists, then above all, just win games. So obviously, my performances so far this season have been pretty well-rounded, and I'm really happy with them, but there's lots more to come, and obviously, we got lots of big games coming up, so I just wanna do what I can, do my part to help the team win, and we got our eyes set on, NSL finals in November, so hopefully we can keep pushing for that, and hopefully I can just do my part to help the team with that.
Well, we wanted to just switch over from playing for your club to playing for your country. So we know you spent some time with various youth national teams, and like, how has that experience been so far? Like, I think you played for the U17s, you played for the U20s.
It's one of the greatest honors I've ever had to represent my country wearing that Canada badge. It's a different kind of feeling that I get, and it's representing my friends, family in this country is something that not many people get to do. So every time that I do, I just take it with gratitude, and I'm super grateful to be there. And then obviously, like I said, even in my club environment, I just try to work hard every day, put on my best performances, and then help the team win. Yeah, getting to experience the national team at all different levels, like U17, it's different than the U20s, and then I was previously just training with the senior team over our break, so they're all amazing experiences that are making me better as a player, but also as a person, and yeah, I'm just super happy to get these opportunities, and every time I get it, I just try to do my best and do my part, and then hopefully more will come from it.
We noticed you weren't at the CONCACAF U20s last month. Were you maybe nursing an injury or something?
Yeah, I actually picked up a knock, just a few days before that, and it was a difficult time. There were lots of decisions to be made, so I took advice from my coaches, the club, my family, my parents, my agent, and just everybody, and then ultimately, the decision was mine on if I wanted to go or not, but I chose what I think was best for me, not to risk any further injury because I still have so much ahead of me, NFL season, and it just wasn't worth risking a long-term injury. So I put myself first, and obviously it was a hard decision, but in the end, I just supported from back home, did the best I could, supported the girls from here in Toronto, and I mean, did they really need me? Look at the outcome, so obviously super proud of them, super happy for them. They made history and yeah, couldn't be happier.
What are your expectations for your performance and contribution? And are you working on any specific aspects of your game this year?
For me, I just wanna continue making the games exciting and doing things that catch people's eyes and get recognition from not only our country, but also across the world. So if I can, obviously doing that, whether that's good dribbles, skills, megs, scoring goals, and just doing stuff like that. And uh, above all, I just wanna do my part in helping the team progress, win, and then, once if we win this year, obviously we'll have lots of momentum going in next year. So for me, expectations, I just try to do the best I can, but obviously for myself, I want to do some like skillful things and put on good performances that people will remember.
You're at the very start of your professional career. Do you have any goals that you hope to achieve 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or is that too far into the future to even think about and you're taking it more like day by day at the moment?
Ever since I was a kid, all I wanted to do was play professional, and I mean, that dream has already kind of came true at such a young age, but since I've achieved that, just another dream keeps coming. So for me, obviously, full focus is on the season right now and these next few years here in the NSL, but obviously, if I'm looking long term, I want to continue my progression with the national team, hopefully get the actual call up to the senior team and perform in tournaments with them, whether that's World Cups, Olympics, and stuff like that. But then professionally, I've always dreamed of playing like over in Europe, like Spain, England, teams like that. So obviously got to keep pushing for that. But as of right now, the full focus is here with AFC and just getting better every single day. And then hopefully those opportunities will come with time. But yeah, full focus here right now.
Is there anything you want to say to our listeners and people in Calgary? Yeah, the floor is yours.
For me, I just wanna say that obviously soccer in this country is growing, women in sport is growing, so we just thank you for all the support and recognition that you guys have been giving us. Obviously, this league, these teams, soccer wouldn't be possible without all of you guys' support. So just obviously keep doing that, keep on bringing that energy, and yeah, for me, if there's any little girls listening or anybody who looks up to the NSL, just keep working and trusting the process. There's a time for everything. Everyone's time will come. So just work hard every day, always be yourself. And yeah, just thank you for having me today, guys.
Hey, y'all, this is Charles Nana, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
Okay, Scott, League One Alberta time. And there were some matches this past Friday, and we can run through what happened in those ones.
Yeah, and you actually were at one of those matches. You were texting me that you had gone to the Cavalry U21 versus Foothills game at Broadview.
It was a fun match to go to. It was really tight. It was a 1-0 victory for Foothills. Foothills got a penalty kick, and Jamie Nicholson converted it. I've had a chance to see some Foothills players, but I haven't really had a chance to see too many Cavalry U21 players. And Joe Holiday started that match, and there were a bunch of other familiar faces out there for the U21s, Owen Antoniak and Channon Chanda, among others.
Yeah, and I noticed that Owen Antoniak, he's having another strong League One season. He's third in league scoring at the moment with 7. Didn't get on the score sheet this time around, but I think that's impressive considering he has missed some games because of his frequent call-ups to the first team.
In other matches in League One, over at Weber Athletic Park, Rangers played Blizzard, and Blizzard was able to win both sides of the doubleheader.
Yeah, on the women's side, this was a 3-1 win for Blizzard with goals coming from Brooklyn Colvin, Kaylee Major, Grace Moore. Rangers' goal came from Allison Bolivar. And then on the men's side, it was a 2-0 win. William Omarenier scored one of the goals, but the other one is a little more mysterious.
Yeah, I was just going to check again, but when I checked before, the player who scored the goal was just listed as NA, like the information not available, which I don't think I've ever seen that before.
In other League One action on Friday, Cali's headed north to play BTB up in Edmonton. Very even matchup on both the men's and the women's games. 3-3 draw on the men's side and a 2-2 draw on the women's side.
Yeah, nice to see Cali's on the men's side get a point. They've had a couple rough matches here or there where they've lost by some big margins. So BTB is a tough team. So good for them.
So looking at the table, very tight in the men's division. Amazingly, only 2 points separate first from sixth. But there is quite a difference in the number of games that some of those teams have played.
Yeah, BTB still at the top with 19 points on 11 games, but then Foothills also has 19 points, but on 12 games. And then that's where game differential really plays in, because Blizzard, 1 point behind with 18 points, but only 8 games. They've played 4 less games than Foothills.
Yeah, and they're a strong team, so you'd fully expect them to get some points in those games. Behind Blizzard, there's St. Albert Impact, also on 18 points, but they've played 10 games, so 2 more than Blizzard have. And then 5th and 6th, that's Scottish and Rangers tied at the moment with 17 points. Then there's a little bit of a drop before you get to Cavalry U21, who are in 7th on 13 points from 10 games. And then down at the bottom, Cali's 10 points from 11 games. And Villains, who after 10 games have still not secured their first point.
On the women's side, 8 teams in the division, because we're not counting the matches the Wild U21 are playing. But really, when it comes right down to it, with due respect to the other teams, it's really become a 3-horse race here. It's Foothills, St. Albert, and Blizzard that have really pulled away.
Foothills and St. Albert are on 21 points respectively, so they're tied for first at the moment. Blizzard just 1 point back, 20 points from 9 games, and they have big drop-off before you get to fourth, which is BTB with 11 points from 8 games. So even if they win their game in hand, they'd still be 6 points back of a podium place. One last thing to mention before we kind of talk about the games that are happening on Tuesday. I did notice that Avril Jamieson for Foothills, she is leading the league in scoring with 6 at the moment, which is 1 above Soraya Bailey, who has been playing with St. Albert, but as we have mentioned a couple of times, was a call-up to the Calgary Wild when they played a few months ago.
And on Tuesday, there are a couple of all-Calgary matchups. Foothills plays Villains at Akron, and Blizzard plays Cavalry U21 at Broadview.
Hi, this is Ben Peppel, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
Last thing we'll mention in this week's episode, just highlight a couple of Calgarians who have recently signed for new clubs. Former podcast guest, former Cavalry FC striker, Bim Peppel, moving up to Plymouth Argyle in England's League One, which is the 3rd division. He talked about when we had him on the podcast a few months back, how that was kind of a goal for him to move up to Div 3. So I really hope that he has the success in that division that he's had in the 4th and 5th divisions in the last year.
I think it's a good move for him, and I look forward to seeing him play in League One, see how he does there.
And then the other player we figured we'd mention is Daler Tokarov, who is playing in Australia. ACT1, that's the state league, same level that Willie Akio is playing at the moment. And the club that he joined is Ugali SC.
Yeah, actually, they could be playing against each other because Akio is playing in that same league, the Australian Capital Territory League. I think he's playing for, is it Tigers or something like that? So in that state league, they're playing in the same state league, so they could face off against each other. And thank you for listening to the WowIC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other platforms. Check out our website at wowicsoccer.com, where you can look through our episode archive and find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links there so you can buy Scott's book, Here Come the Cavalry, all about the history of pro soccer in Calgary. You can leave a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website. You can also interact with us on social media, such as Twitter, Instagram, or Blue Sky, where our username is YYC Soccer 403. Thanks for listening.